Episode number 51, 2 versus 15 II. Deep into the night, a large truck began to move out of a cave less than a day away from Rock City. Despite its size, the vehicle made no noise and silently moved through the forest. Two men were sitting in the cab. One was very old with a large scar over his left eye, while the other resembled a middle-aged man with dark hair. Unlike the elder's stoic expression, the younger smiled as he watched the trees passing by.
You sure are relaxed. It is your fault that we need to move so fast. You could have incapacitated the guard, but immediately went for the kill.
The older man spoke harshly, but the middle-aged man kept smiling.
Of course that I ended him. Although it was unlikely, he might have caught a glimpse of my face. Unlike you, I don't intend to waste my life as a lowly criminal. My only goal is to get enough resources to enter level 4 and get a comfortable life as a guard in some noble family.
The middle-aged man spoke mockingly and did not bother to hide his disdain.
Ha, what family would hire someone with your taste as a guard?
The old man's special emphasis on the word taste hinted there was a hidden meaning to it, and the cold reaction of the middle-aged man affirmed it.
HMPH, I never leave evidence, and you should watch your mouth unless you want to become one.
A tense atmosphere formed between the duo as the middle-aged man issued that threat. But then, out of nowhere, their eyes widened as they felt a powerful aura coming to them. Before the duo could do anything, a man covered in blade armor and enveloped in flames reached the truck's cab. And at the same time, another man with black scale armor attacked the trailer. Kane used light boots burst and kinetic gauntlets kinetic blast to achieve an immense speed and struck the truck's trailer with such strength that it deformed it. Levy's body was like a giant fireball that crashed with the cab at more than 400 km/h. The cadet's military truck could have easily resisted an impact like that, but the criminal's truck was like a dried branch. With Kane hitting it on the right and Levi on the left, the truck made an ugly sound before splitting in two. The trailer only rolled a few times, but Levi sent the cab holding the two level 3 wave warriors flying away for almost 20 meters. Levy and Kane glanced at each other briefly before flashing to their targets. The red-eyed youth had already decided to take care of both level 3 wave warriors, and since both of them were in the cab working as lookouts, it made everything easier. Kane was impressed by Levi's attack. The truck's cabin must weigh around 15 tons, so one could imagine the strength behind that lunge for it to fly for more than a dozen meters. Still, Kane did not let his thoughts wander and focused on the battle ahead. He jumped over the trailer and put his hands over its metallic surface before using lightning conversion. The astral wave on Kane's bursting wave cloak transformed into lightning that soon spread inside the trailer. He did not contain it all and unleashed the full power of his skill while making sure the charge would not disperse in the ground. Although the mission would end with a better scar if they managed to trap the criminals alive, neither Kane nor Levi were naive enough to hold back during a life-and-death battle, especially when outnumbered.
Boom.
Kane's eyes narrowed as someone blasted the trailer's doors, and 6 figures flashed out from it. It was not a surprise for him that the level 2 Essence Wave Warriors could make it, but it seemed that one of the 8 at level 1 managed to endure the crash and electric waves. If the rest of the level 1 Wave Warriors had the strength to fight, they would have left the trailer when the doors were busted open. So Kane stopped sending his lightning and flashed to the group. Before any criminal could get over the shock and get used to the dark surroundings, Kane had already appeared among them. He sent a vicious punch to the throat of level 2 Essence Wave Warrior with the highest stats. The level 2 Wave Warrior could not even scream, and if it weren't for his wave cloak, that attack would have broken his throat, drowning him in his own blood. 1 down, 5 to go. That thought was the only one to cross Kane's mind as he saw the Essence Wave Warrior falling to the ground. When the other criminals saw that, they immediately triggered Wave Burst to the maximum they could achieve and moved away from Kane. An Essence Wave Warrior would always put some distance when fighting an Astral Wave Warrior. The criminals would then attempt to surround Kane before firing all their spells. The strategy was good, but they were too slow. Before the 5 Essence Wave Warriors could move more than 20 meters away, Kane used his light boots burst to reach the second strongest criminal. The criminal was able to react this time, forming a cross with his arms before a layer of dense ice covered them. Regular attacks would have required a few seconds to cross that cover, allowing the other criminals time to fire their spells. However, Kane only sneered as his right kinetic gauntlet glowed, allowing him to fire a kinetic blast point-blank in the ice shield.
Crack.
The ice shield shattered, as did the bones in the level 2 Wave Warrior's arms before being sent flying away. 2 down. Thank you for listening to the Age of Chaos audio story. Storyfy grows with listeners like you. Support the series by sharing it and join our Telegram for the latest updates. Episode number 52, 2 versus 15 III. Kane had just sent the level 2 Wave Warrior with the ice shield flying away as the earth beneath his feet began to liquefy. He was honestly surprised that one of the criminals could do that. The criminal that did it was the only level 1 Wave Warrior conscious. He had pierced his hands in the ground and used his essence wave to control the earth and release the spell beneath Kane's legs. His wave talent is mediocre, but it seems his mastery over the 4 basic wave arts is the strongest of the 6. Kane had initially thought that the level 1 Wave Warrior would be the easiest, which is why he focused his attention on the strongest of those at level 2. Unfortunately, that proved to be a mistake. The other criminals smiled, ready to rain down their spells on him. I need to be more careful. Well, it is not like I cannot overcome it. As those thoughts crossed Kane's mind, his astral wave had already filled the light boots, allowing him to stomp with so much strength that he was able to overcome the swampy ground. That was not all, as he directed his body toward the level 1 Essence Wave Warrior. The smile on the criminal's face vanished, and before he could summon a wall of earth, Kane's body clashed against him. Kane's weight with his armor surpassed 100 kg, and his wave cloak, in a state of almost 200% wave burst, exponentially enhanced the hardness of his body. One could imagine the fate of the level 1 Essence Wave Warrior after colliding with that at a speed of over 200 km/h. Kane sent the man flying over 20 meters, and whether he was still alive or not was hard to say. However, that did not matter to him, and he sent a kick to a middle-aged criminal that was near him. Unfortunately for Kane, a fireball clashed on his chest before he could connect the attack. The criminals smiled as they saw that, and were sure the attack would incapacitate the black demon long enough for them to counterattack. Nevertheless, their hopes shattered the next second. That fireball that could have exploded an Old World's car barely pushed Kane 5 meters before this one stamped the ground and regained control over his body. That fireball was powerful, and it could have done real damage to any other newly level 2 Astral Wave Warrior, but not only was Kane in a state of wave burst, but his nullity armor focused on defense. Kane felt a metallic taste on his mouth, and viciousness appeared in his eyes as he flashed back to the fray.
Fucking monster, die.
One of the criminals shouted in fear as his wave morphed into 5 arrows of air and shot toward Kane. Kane did not back down or stop his march. Instead, he dodged the arrows by getting down on all fours and, in that position, continued marching forward. A criminal saw with horror how Kane's body propelled toward him like a spear. A shoulder collided with his stomach, making him puke blood and thrusting him to the ground, right before a punch almost cracked his skull and sent him into unconsciousness. Kane did not lose his momentum and jumped forward, sending a kick into a criminal that was trying to fire a spear of earth. With that one, he had already incapacitated 5 criminals. He then turned to the lost level 2 Essence Wave Warrior and dashed toward this one.
Wait, I surrender.
The criminal screamed and raised his hands, signaling he no longer wanted to fight, but was answering his plea of a fist to the temple. Kane did not contain himself. That punch sent the criminal crashing to the ground, and there was no doubt this one would suffer a severe concussion.
Well done, brat. That garbage was trying to mobilize his essence wave quietly and would have surely attacked if you stopped.
Kane heard Apex's voice in his mind and nodded. He did not know whether the criminal was willing to surrender or trying to trick him, but there was no way he would lower his guard in a life-and-death battle just because of some words. He acted the same when he fought the Hell Devil female in the military academy secret trial. When it came to an enemy, their race made no difference for him. After taking care of the 6 criminals that managed to escape the trailer and using the basic scan force field, to ensure the others were unconscious, he turned toward the battle between Levi and the 2 level 3 Essence Wave Warriors. Immediately, Kane adopted a solemn expression as he saw the might of that battle. The old man had a large staff that allowed him to fire earth spells fast, while the middle-aged man had a blade bathed in a green wind. On the other hand, flames flowed through Levi's armor, and explosions would blast from his feet, allowing him to move all over the battlefield. Thank you for listening to the Age of Chaos audio story. Storyfy grows with listeners like you. Support the series by sharing it and join our Telegram for the latest updates. Episode number 53, Victory. Levi's armor had small lacerations and minor indentations, but they were nothing. On the other hand, the two level 3 Essence Wave warriors were full of wounds. The old man had the left side of his body thoroughly burned, and the left arm was so twisted that you could see bones through the skin. Levi provoked most of those wounds when he clashed against the truck's cabin and sent it flying away. The middle-aged criminal was luckier, as he was on the opposite side of the clash. Still, Levi had burned half his face and left a fiery fist print in his chest. Unlike the other criminals, the duo not only was at a higher level, but they also had wave artifacts that allowed them to fire spells faster and with greater precision and power. Yet, they had barely been able to touch Levi all this time. Levi's fists and legs would shoot explosions that allowed his offensive power and speed to reach an incredible level. Those were not effects from his wave artifacts, but a skill that perfectly used the power of his fire lineage. The middle-aged man saw how Levi flashed toward him, and the power of wind burst around his body, allowing him to move back at great speed. That was not all, as a wall of reinforced earth appeared between them. Of course, the responsible for the wall of earth was the old criminal. Although they did not like each other, they were smart enough to understand that working together was the only way they could win. The middle-aged man smiled as the green wind on his wave artifact grew more potent, ready to unleash a barrage of wind blades. Unfortunately, the duo had already used that trick before. Levi smiled, and instead of pushing through the earth wall, he flashed to the side toward the old criminal. Panic appeared on the old criminal's face as he saw Levi's imposing figure coming toward him. Creating a powerful earth wall took time, which he did not have, so instead, he used his essence wave to shoot earth spearheads. Levi raised his guard and gathered most of his astral wave in his arms through wave focus, allowing him to take the spearheads head-on. The middle-aged man also panicked as he saw Levi getting near the old man, but there was nothing he could do in such little time. In a last desperate act, the old man gathered his essence wave around his staff, making this one glow with a brown light, and waved it toward Levi's head. Essence wave enhanced the staff, and sharp earth spikes also emerged from it. A direct strike could surpass Levi's armor defenses. However, before the old man could wave it down, an explosion emerged from Levi's feet. His staff was still in the air when Levi clashed against him, shattering many of his bones. The middle-aged man's eyes widened as he saw the old man flying through the air while puking blood. "I need to run." That was the only thought that crossed his mind as he saw his comrade's fate. To take care of the old man, Levi had gotten far from the middle-aged criminal, giving this one a chance to run, and since he specialized in wind spells, his agility was impressive. Sadly for the middle-aged criminal, a figure emerged from his blind spot and dashed to his back. He had been so focused on Levi that he failed to perceive the sneak attack until it was too late. Damn it! There was nothing he could do other than try to mobilize as much of his essence wave to his back as fast as possible. Kane's punch landed point-blank in the middle-aged man and used the last bit of astral wave left to fire a kinetic blast.
A
cry of agony emerged from the middle-aged criminal as he felt his spine cracking under the kinetic blast. Had he not mobilized most of his essence wave, the attack could have killed him. And things only worsened as the attack sent him flying in Levi's direction. Still midair, the man received a kick from Levi, which cracked his skull and knocked him down.
Well done. Luckily you finished your side fast, or else that man could have escaped.
Kane only nodded to Levi's words. Although they had decided to divide the targets, he would obviously come to help. Of course, since he took part in the defeat of the level 3 Wave Warrior, his completion percentage would increase, distributing more of the mission's reward toward him. If Levi had been the type of person that would rather fail a mission than lose Imperial military credits, Kane's interference could have been a problem. Without wasting time, the duo began gathering the criminals, and then Cain stared at Levi with an inquiring gaze. Since this mission involved capturing criminals, the collapsing Lightning Military Academy had to give them sleep tiaras. A sleep tiara was a special type of wave artifact that could induce a deep state of unconsciousness. Levi should have obtained it when he took the mission. Levi extended his right hand, and Cain saw how a red ring glowed before several sleep tiaras appeared out of nowhere.
Space ring.
Cain was surprised to see that Levi had a space ring. That was a wave artifact without offensive power, but useful in and out of battles.
There is no need to be surprised. For truly powerful noble families, these are so normal that they give it to any child.
Levi acted like nothing and began to put the sleep tiaras on the criminals. Cain's eyes narrowed as he heard that, but he did not attempt to dig for information and helped with the tiaras. The wave artifacts began to glow once in place, using the wave of the criminals to work. That would have been enough, but Cain and Levi went the extra mile and dislocated the criminals' arms and knees. Sleep tiaras could fail, but without working extremities, they could neither fight nor run. Just like that, Cain and Levi went against 15 wave warriors and came out victorious without suffering significant wounds. Thank you for listening to the Age of Chaos audio story. Storyfy grows with listeners like you. Support the series by sharing it and join our Telegram for the latest updates. Episode number 54, Bitter End. After taking care of the criminals, ensuring they could not pose a threat or contact anyone, Cain and Levi removed several metallic containers from the truck's trailer. Levi scanned the barcodes and confirmed that those were the ones stolen from Rock City. A smile appeared on the duo's faces once they confirmed that. Now that Cain and Levi had apprehended the criminals and recovered the stolen goods, their mission was over. They needed to return to the Lightning Imperial Fort and reclaim their reward.
It will take some time for the military truck to reach this place, and they will not go anywhere. We should check the cave where they came from.
Cain could see the greedy light in Levi's eyes, and the same thing appeared in his. The criminals were in a hurry to escape and might have left something valuable hidden inside the cave. Although neither Cain nor Levi dared to think of taking something from the containers, the possessions of these criminals were entirely different. Levi's space ring already contained the staff and sword from the level 3 Essence Wave Warriors. Levi and Cain had large smiles as they flashed toward the cave. Even if the chances were small, the idea of great wealth enticed the youths. However, the moment they entered the cave, the smiles of Cain and Levi were replaced by utter shock. The cave was mostly empty, except for 2 bodies. The criminals had thoroughly burned them, leaving nothing but their bones. Cain and Levi had seen their fair share of death, so it was odd for some corpses to affect them that way. Their minds froze because those bodies were small, really small. Cain took a deep breath and attempted to calm himself as he used the pseudocellular analysis tool on the corpses. Just as the information was about to reach him, he heard Apex's voice in his mind.
Are you sure you want to know?
Apex's words only made Cain's suspicions grow, and a sharp light appeared in his eyes as he nodded. After obtaining the confirmation, the system spirit no longer interfered. Scan of targets completed. Both corpses belong to female humans. The bone analysis puts one's age at 10 years and the other at 11. Severe damage to the pelvic bones on both bodies, most likely the result of Ra. Enough, Cain shouted in his mind, not letting the absolute life form system continue. His heart beat faster and faster as a sense of absolute bloodlust invaded his mind. Cain was trying to control himself as the desire to kill burned in his veins. Yet, when he detected a scent in the bodies, his emotions went out of control, clouding his mind. Bloodlust overflowed his eyes as he flashed out of the cave. He reached the criminals very fast and immediately detected the one whose scent had impregnated those bodies. Cain appeared next to the unconscious middle-aged level 3 Essence Wave Warrior and stomped his head.
Crack.
The sound of bones shattering echoed through the forest. The man was still alive, but his face was completely deformed. Nevertheless, that was far from enough to calm Cain, who raised his leg again, intending to shatter the middle-aged man's skull with the next stomp. Just as Cain was about to kill the criminal, someone grabbed his shoulder and threw him back. Cain regained control over his body immediately. The bloodlust in his eyes exploded as he saw Levi standing in his way. Levi's eyes narrowed as he saw Cain's killing intent. The feeling he now got from the blue-eyed youth was that of a feral beast. Deep down, Cain did not want to contain that rage. That is why his emotional outburst was so strong as to be willing to go through Levi to kill the middle-aged man. Levi frowned as he saw where things were going. He could win against Cain since he still had around 20% of his astral wave left. However, the battle would not be easy, and he was certainly not willing to risk it for someone that disgusted him.
Death is too easy. Remember the price people like this garbage pays once convicted.
Cain's eyes widened as he heard Levi's words, and a cold smile slowly emerged on his face as the bloodlust in his eyes vanished. The Godslayer humankind empire was a well-developed civilization, and different crimes carried different sentences. Theft and the likes, where no one perished, would only give you a few years of prison and forced labor. As for things like what the middle-aged man did to those children, the price for that was something that the old world would punish with death or at least a life sentence. The Godslayer Humaking Empire would not waste resources incarcerating garbage until they died of old age. However, they would neither kill them. Their fate was much, much worse. Cain had forgotten that fact due to the rage that clouded his mind, but once Levi mentioned it, he calmed himself. The desire to kill was still there, but it could not overcome his willpower. Clarity returned to Cain's eyes after a few seconds, and he sighed.
I am sorry for that. I could not.
At that point, Cain made a slight pause, and resolution appeared in his eyes as he corrected himself.
I did not want to hold back.
Cain knew he had made a mistake by not resisting the emotional outburst, but would not use excuses. He would learn from his mistake and accept the consequences. Levi stood silent for a moment before also sighing and shaking his head.
I understand where that came from, so let us pretend nothing happened. After all, I would have done the same if I thought this garbage would not regret being alive.
Levi did not criticize Cain. The duo then returned to the cave, took out the corpses, and dug a grave for them near a large tree. In the Godslayer humankind empire, being buried in the forest where your body would return to the world was considered a good final rest. The military truck reached their location an hour later, and the duo loaded the container along with the criminals before getting in the cabin and setting off. Cain and Levi remained silent the entire way back into the Lightning Imperial fort. The excitement they felt after completing their first mission was over. The only thing either could think about were those two small bodies. Thank you for listening to the Age of Chaos audio story. Storyfy grows with listeners like you. Support the series by sharing it and join our Telegram for the latest updates. Episode number 55, How to Deal with Cancer. The military truck containing Levi and Cain did not have a problem returning to the Lightning Imperial fort. After advancing a little deeper into the area restricted to cadets, the duo got down. Levi used his AI chip to give a detailed report about the mission, including the behavior of Mayor Classius, along with the state of the stolen goods and criminals. Then, the military truck moved on its own, heading to the Titan Tower, where the higher-ups would check the containers and interrogate the criminals before clearing the mission and sending the duo their reward.
I was thinking of handing over the 2 wave artifacts to the military academy. They will give us half their market value, but since we obtained them during a mission, those Imperial military credits would count in the collapsing Lightning Military Academy ranking. Of course, if you have a better idea, I am listening.
Levi explained to Cain his plan to handle the staff and sod they got. Since neither was an Essence Wave warrior, they did not have use for them. Cain could use Apex's connections in the Godslayer humankind network to barter the 2 wave artifacts, but in the end, he preferred Levi's idea. He already had full armor, gauntlets, and boots. Although he could obtain pills, drugs, and cultivation resources through barter, he was not willing to consume shady substances from an unknown origin.
Fine, let's do it your way. Good, Merit Ruler will automatically distribute Imperial military credits, so we don't have to worry about it. I will be going now.
Levi shook Cain's hand before departing, leaving the second alone. Cain did not dally and made his way home. Although his face showed little, his mind was in turmoil. No matter how hard he tried, the image of those 2 bodies did not leave him. Things only grew worse as he pictured the horrible fate they endured before their deaths. Apex, Why did the report sent by Rock City's men not mention those children? Kane heard the voice of the system's spirit immediately, but it did not give him an answer.
You already know why.
Apex's voice was cold and detached. One could misunderstand that the system spirit did not care about those children, but the fact that he showed coldness told a lot to Kane. And the system spirit was also right in that Kane already knew the answer to the question. It was just that he loathed it so much that part of him refused to accept it. Clashus could not hide the death of an essence wave god, but there was no problem if he made some children disappear from an orphanage.
That is right that Grease Ball could have just altered some documents, and it would be like those children never existed.
Kane clenched his fists as he kept walking to his residence. The idea of Mayor Clashus enjoying the pleasure of life while condemning little children to a horrible fate made his blood boil. What exactly will happen to the criminals? Kane had an idea, but Apex would surely be more informed as he spent all his time investigating all aspects of the Godslayer humankind network.
According to my understanding, the Imperial Investigation Force is in charge of criminal investigations related to wave cultivators. Among their methods is the ability to read minds, so there is no way that garbage could hide any information. There is a good chance they will find some relation between the mayor of Rock City and criminal activities, but I doubt that will make a difference.
What? Why? How could they turn a blind eye to something like this? Kane could not believe that the Godslayer humankind empire could be so rotten as to allow something like what happened to those children to go unpunished.
It is not so simple. Clashus surely hid his involvement very well, and even if there were suspicions, the Imperial Investigation Force would only act if they found irrefutable evidence. After all, that fat bastard is nothing, but the one above him must have some background. In the end, a combination of apprehension and lack of evidence will allow Clashus to get away with it. They will, at most, send a letter of reprimand, trying to scare him into not doing it again. I suppose you could find some consolation in knowing that the middle-aged man that harmed those children will become a tier criminal, along with all the other garbage you captured.
According to the severity of their crimes, the Godslayer humankind empire classified people according to tiers, and becoming a tier 0 criminal was the worst punishment possible. The empire modified them with drugs and machinery, transforming them into living puppets useful for dangerous and even suicidal tasks. Such behavior would have drawn outrage in the old world, but no one would dare to defy the Godslayer humankind empire for a bunch of killers and rapists. People like that, who would choose to fight for the rights of the lowest type of garbage while the entire race was in a war for survival, were nothing but clowns. Since they did not value the life of their race's children, they lost the right to call themselves humans. That is the way of the Godslayer humankind. Kane knew that all those criminals would regret having been born. That is why he overcame his desire to kill them on the spot back in the forest. After hearing everything Apex said, Kane began to walk slower and slower until he finally stopped. The god's death at the hands of the criminals did not truly bother him. That person was an adult and mature enough to understand the consequences of choosing that sort of job. Yet, children were different. They were innocent and should be protected until they could bear the weight of their decisions. So, I should just accept the judgment of the higher-ups and pretend I don't know the part that the bastard had in those little girls' death. Kane's eyes were full of murderous rage, scaring all the cadets walking near him. Apex did not reply immediately, and it was only once Kane's wrath was about to explode that he spoke.
There are people who behave no differently than cancerous cells. They consume everything good and never have enough.
Kane's eyes narrowed as he heard that, and his attention focused entirely on the system's spirit.
Only fools and cowards think that you can reason with cancer. There is only one path: kill it and everything infected by it.
Those words full of killing intent calmed Kane, and a cold smile appeared. Apex, hack into Clashus' agenda. I want to know every move he makes and when he is most vulnerable. Also, search the Godslayer humankind network for a wave artifact that could hide my identity and any trace of my presence.
I will begin the hacking immediately. As for wave artifacts of that kind, some in the form of helmets can hide your appearance from most high-level recording devices and even alter your astral wave in some way.
Apex was extremely efficient and followed Kane's instructions without wasting time. Great! Please inform me when you complete your analysis of Clashus patterns. As for the helmet, if you can, get one red. Thank you for listening to the Age of Chaos audio story. Storyfy grows with listeners like you. Support the series by sharing it and join our Telegram for the latest updates. Episode number 56, Three Types. Cain returned to his room, and after paying his respect to his father's altar, he took a quick shower and went to sleep. Although he wanted to train, he needed to rest properly. In the following days, he spent every free moment training the Fiend Devourer cultivation technique. Using the Dark Race's blood still proved effective, allowing him to save the hearts for a higher cultivation step, where the amount of astral wave needed would be higher. Cain had decided to kill Clashus, but although taking care of that man in a one-on-one battle would be easy, there was no way a mare would not have protection. He would likely have to face that level 4 astral wave warrior he saw in Clash's office, so he needed to grow stronger. He had just woken up on Monday and was ready to march into the auditorium for his wave mastery class when a message arrived through the AI chip module. Saint of Killers, you have been awarded 950 Imperial military credits for fulfilling Mission C-23. Saint of Killers, you have been awarded 520 Imperial military credits for handing over wave artifacts found during Mission C-23. Cain's eyes narrowed as he heard those messages and saw his Imperial military credits skyrocket. Part of the reason he gained so much was an extra reward for the criminals being captured alive. Besides, all missions that involved investigation had a bonus. Although seeing so many Imperial military credits was exciting, Cain did not let it go to his head. The mission paid a great deal, but you have to consider that they faced several wave warriors, and a wrong step could have meant their death. It did not take long for Cain to reach the auditorium, and he sat alongside Levi and Beals. The trio made some small talk when Cain suddenly noticed someone. Cain glanced to a corner of the auditorium and saw a woman completely isolated. No noble or commoner wanted to be anywhere near her. Beals and Levi noticed the coldness in Cain's eyes and turned to the woman. The first showed nothing, but the second released a small killing intent. The woman noticed their gazes, but remained calm and kept looking forward.
I assume that the two of you know her.
Beals could see the coldness and killing intent, which incited her curiosity.
Her name is Nira Kyler. I did not see her during last week's classes. Part of me thought she had found a way out of the military academy, but it seemed she had been recovering.
Cain's eyes focused on the woman's right side and saw a new arm where a stump used to be. Recovering a lost extremity was not impossible, but the amount of wealth needed was immense. Not to mention that the stronger your body was, the higher the price. Nira could count herself lucky since she trained the Essence Evolution Path of Power and was only a level 2 wave warrior.
Oh, so that is the infamous Nira Kyler, the one loathed by everybody.
Beals did not have many friends, but even she heard the rumors about the treacherous cadet that sacrificed her friend to escape.
Yes.
Cain nodded, but as he saw Nira sitting by herself, he felt odd. Of course, Cain did not feel guilty, sad, or anything else like that. If given a chance, he would have ended the woman. What bothered him was the cold and reserved aura he now felt from Nira. It was unlike her arrogant and impulsive personality in the military academy secret trial.
She has become dangerous.
Cain was surprised to hear Apex's voice and frowned. That new arm must have drained a lot of vitality, affecting her cultivation. I'm confident in killing her if we fight.
Brat, her battle power is not what makes it dangerous. In most places you will find 3 types of people. There are those like you and the other 2 brats by your side. You don't hide your power, and while you don't seek the spotlight, you neither hide from it. Others like Lumia and Zamia are in constant pursuit of the spotlight, and they tend to overestimate their capacities. You will find many people like that in your path, but they are mostly fools. The 3rd type could be considered the most dangerous. This type is the one that keeps a cold head and maintains a low profile, saving their strength until it is time to strike.
Cain's eyes narrowed as a flash of enlightenment appeared in them. The trauma had turned Nira from the 2nd type to the 3rd, making her much more dangerous. I need to do something about her. Cain was sure that Nira had not forgotten about him. Sadly, there was little he could do inside the lightning Imperial fort. Total silence reigned in the auditorium once Wink appeared. No one would dare to show disrespect to the mighty Wave champion, who could unleash attacks faster than the speed of sound.
I hope all of you have trained during these few days. Today we will focus only on wave burst. We will use the first half to test our wave output. As for the second half, we will combine wave burst with synergy flow.
Wink said nothing else before making the cadets stand up and train. He would move through the auditorium, giving hints from time to time and fixing flaws of anyone having a hard time. As Wink told them, the first half was about improving the amount of wave they could unleash. Kane's maximum was a 205% wave burst, while that of Levi's was 211%. Beals was an essence wave warrior, so she had a more challenging time in that art and only reached 178%. However, she proved to be much more talented than the other essence wave warriors cadets, since the second best only achieved 161% wave burst. Wink gave the class a half-hour break before going to the second half. Using Synergy Flow with a normal wave cloak was already hard, but using it with a bursting wave cloak pushed everybody's concentration to the limit. Once the class ended, every cadet was both physically and mentally exhausted. Kane and Levi were sweating a lot, like everybody else. The duo and all the other males did not have a problem with it, but it was harder for women, as not only did they tend to care more about those things, but the sweat affected their clothes. Many males threw furtive glances at some women, doing their best to hide their lust, and the center of their attention was the one sitting to Kane's left. Sadly for all of them, Beals continuously unleashed a cold breeze that kept her body clean. Still, she gave all those that looked at her a piercing gaze. Kane and Levi only shook their heads toward the other cadets. Once the class was over, the trio returned to their residences. Like that, the second class of Wave Mastery ended. Thank you for listening to the Age of Chaos audio story. Storyfy grows with listeners like you. Support the series by sharing it and join our Telegram for the latest updates. Episode number 57, Legio Eldritch Race. Like usual, Kane returned to his residence after the class, where he dedicated all his free time to cultivating. The feeling of growing stronger was better than any game, so he had no problem spending his entire day on that. Kane continued training deep into the night until he finally went to bed and rested for the following day. He woke up with the first ray of sunlight and raced toward the auditorium, where he sat in his usual spot alongside Levi and Beals. The trio did not have time for small talk, as Razman soon entered the auditorium and reached the podium. The dwarf-like teacher stood silent until the virtual screen manifested above him.
The last class focused on the Infernus demon race, and today we will do it on the Legio Eldritch race.
Razman had just finished talking when the virtual screen showed a group of life forms with appearances resembling the combination of insects and Old World's dinosaurs. Those creatures had a ferocious appearance, but they were all respectfully surrounding two individuals at the center of the horde. One seems to be a 2.5-meter male with 4 arms and a red shell covering most of his muscular body, including his face. The second had a smaller and slender body, with a bulging, ridged, elongated head that resembled very much that of an octopus.
When it comes to the Legio Eldritch race, there are 2 types of warriors, Eldritches and drones. The difference between these 2 groups is whether they have an ego and the ability to cultivate. Eldritch represented less than 10% of the entire race population, but since they are the ones with intelligence and wisdom, they are the leaders. Besides their individual fighting power, they can also control drones, manipulating them as if they were an extension of themselves. Unlike most races, there is a striking difference between their males and females. Males had muscular 4-armed bodies, while females had slender bodies and octopus-like heads. The difference does not end in their appearances, as males, while physically stronger, can control fewer drones simultaneously. On the other hand, females had weaker bodies, but the number of drones they could command was almost 3 times larger. Their lack of ego makes Legio Eldritch race's drones fearless killing machines. They will follow the commands of their Eldritch master without hesitation. Nevertheless, drones have a fatal flaw. Without the control of an Eldritch, they are no different than wild beasts, with some types so savage that they kill each other. In a fight against Legio Eldritch race members, the best path forward is to kill the Eldritches instead of wasting time with the drones. Of course, an Eldritch would not hesitate to sacrifice every drone in their control to save their lives. There are more types of Eldritches, like those in charge of generating the drones, but you will never find them on the battlefield, so we will not waste our time with them.
After that explanation, Rasmun began to describe the anatomy of every single drone and that of the eldritches. He explained in detail the position of the hot and vital organs. The virtual screen also displayed all sorts of simulations, showing the cadets how to take advantage of their weak points and defend against attacks. Fighting against eldritches almost always meant fighting drones, so unless your battle power could overwhelm the enemy, humans needed to form groups. Rasmun also explained in detail the best battle formations against the Legio Eldritch race. Kane's focus did not slip for a single second during the class. As he saw all that, he had to admit that he liked the male Eldritch's battle style. An overwhelming brute power while manipulating drones to block the enemy's movements. Control everything with your mind. When that thought appeared, a red light flashed through Kane's eyes, but it vanished instantly. After the class ended, Kane went back to his residence. He paid respects to his father's altar, but instead of starting his cultivation immediately, he entered the Imperial Military Academy network and began to scroll through the missions. Tomorrow would be the military tactics class, and he would be free for the rest of the week, so he was planning his next move. Not much Dark Race's blood was left, so Kane needed cultivation resources. Although he still had the Dark Race's hots, he wanted to save them for level 3, where they would benefit him the most. In the end, Kane chose a mission that consisted in collecting special herbs used in the creation of drugs. The mission paid little, but it took place in a Tier 0 danger zone where there would be a great deal of Wave Beast that he could hunt. Although Wave Beast's hots would not be as good as Dark Race's hots, they would be more than enough for a level 2 Wave warrior like Kane. Having secured the mission, Kane began with his cultivation. Thank you for listening to the Age of Chaos audio story. Storyfy grows with listeners like you. Support the series by sharing it and join our Telegram for the latest updates. Episode number 58, Deus Behemoth Race and Anima Mechanicus Race. Kane sat alongside Levi and Beals as Vice Captain Joseph entered the auditorium and reached the podium. He unleashed a fierce aura, shutting down any noise before starting with the class.
The Godslayer humankind is strong. Although someone like me would not dare to assume the full might of our power, you should know that a duke controls each sector, and there is no one with the title of duke whose strength is beneath that of a titan.
Kane's eyes widened as he heard that. A titan was someone whose supernatural powers defied logic. They could stand on the surface of the old world's sun. The Godslayer humankind empire controlled the Gaia continent and had 72 sectors, meaning there were at least 72 titans. Are we that powerful? Although that information was not news for many cadets coming from noble families, it came as a shock for someone like Kane. Before Kane could enjoy the feeling for long, Apex's voice echoed inside his mind.
HMPH brat, you felt proud of that measly number. If I were a member of the Dark Races, I would be pleased to hear that. It would mean I need to kill 72 individuals to end your entire race. From what I have managed to gather, the population of the Godslayer humankind is more than 40 trillion. Despite that massive population, the number that became titans is not above 100. No matter how you see it, that is pathetic.
Kane frowned and clenched his fists as he felt irritated by Apex's words, but although he did not like it, he had to admit there was truth behind them. There was nothing to be happy about from a success rate beneath 1%. Why do you tell me all this?
Simple, so you don't get too complacent. There is nothing wrong with being happy at your race achievements, but only garbage blindly relies on them. You have the absolute life form system fused with your soul, so only your power should matter.
A flash of enlightenment crossed Kane's eyes after hearing Apex's words. Like every human, the threat of the Dark Races always loomed over his head and was a great source of inspiration to grow stronger. However, when Kane heard there were at least 72 titans, that pressure intuitively reduced since he knew powerful life forms were protecting the Godslayer humankind empire. Luckily, Apex acted fast, or else that train of thoughts would have affected him. Instead of relying on others, rely on yourself. Your power and hard work will never betray you. Kane's eyes regained their sharp light. Still, he grew a little confused since he now knew Vice Captain Joseph's words were harmful to the young cadets. Joseph solved all of Kane's doubts the next moment.
Yes, we have 72 dukes, and the number of titans might reach 100.
Joseph let the cadets show a proud smile before speaking again, this time solemnly.
But the number of dark races gods easily surpasses the 400.
Those last words shocked everybody, even members of the noble families. It made sense that their elders would like to brag about the power of the Godslayer humankind empire, but would not be so open about the power of the dark races. Vice Captain Joseph was a seasoned soldier, and it was clear that his understanding of human psychology was not shallow. He would not have made the mistake of taking away a source of motivation for the cadets.
If we were to enter a full-out war against the 3 dark races, the Godslayer humankind would be massacred. Luckily, we are not alone. Just like the Inferno demon race, Legio Eldritch race, and Atrox Immortus race form a coalition, we have our own with the Deus Behemoth race and Anima Mechanicus race.
The mood of the cadets improved once they heard that. The dread and fear of hearing that there were currently over 400 gods clouded their minds, but now they remember the Godslayer humankind was not alone in this war. Vice Captain Joseph waved his hand, and the virtual screen above his head showed 2 groups of individuals. One was composed of humanoids with metallic bodies and blue flames in their crystal eyes, while the other was full of dragons, phoenixes, unicorns, and all sorts of mythical creatures.
I will first start with the Anima Mechanicus race. Despite humans being biological life forms and animas mechanical, we are considered brother races. The reason for that is that their ancestor is related to ours. The Godslayer humankind's ancestor is Adam, the first Titan. The Anima Mechanicus race's ancestor is no other than the first Titan's AI chip, which gained sentience and a soul. Members of the Anima Mechanicus race can only train the essence evolution path of power, but that does not mean their bodies are weak. They reform them after every advance in their cultivation.
Joseph made it so that the virtual screen would display several videos of animas fighting, and everybody was amazed by their abilities.
Now let's talk about the Deus Behemoth race. They have been in ether before we even put a foot in Gaia. Some might wonder why they look similar to the old world's mythical creatures.
Cain and many other cadets nodded. Dragons and phoenixes were part of the old world's fables, but they were supposed to be inventions of humans and not an actual race of another dimension.
Scholars have asked themselves that question, and the best explanation was related to the power of our dreams. In a nutshell, while our bodies could not enter this dimension, we could glimpse it through our dreams. That is how the Deus Behemoth race became part of our stories and fairy tales.
Although that explanation had a lot to desire, the cadets knew that would be the best they would get from Vice Captain Joseph.
The Deus Behemoth race is extremely arrogant, but they are also direct and loath any form of deception. If a behemoth gives you their word, you can trust they will keep it. The amount of bloodlines in their race is immense, and those born with powerful ones have an extremely high status. When it comes to their bodies, they are incredibly gifted from birth. That is why at least 80% chose to take the astral rebirth path of power.
After giving that brief explanation about the allies of the Godslayer humankind against the dark races, Vice Captain Joseph gave a lengthy description of the different types of battlefields and how to take advantage of each. Thank you for listening to the Age of Chaos audio story. Storyfy grows with listeners like you. Support the series by sharing it and join our Telegram for the latest updates. Episode number 59, A Great Danger. The first ray of sunshine appeared in the sky when Cain got into a military truck and left the Lightning Imperial fort. He spent the previous day preparing and resting before leaving for the Tier 0 danger zone, where his mission took place. Once the military truck crossed the gates and left the fort's line of sight, he activated his nullity armor. After setting the coordinates, he closed his eyes and began meditating, ensuring his body was in peak condition for future battles. Less than half an hour after Cain's departure, another military truck left the Lightning Imperial fort. It drove for less than 20 minutes before its sole passenger got out and flashed into a nearby forest. The individual was shrouded in shadows, but upon a closer look, it was clear that it was no one else but Nira, the scion that fell in disgrace during the military academy secret trial. It did not take long for her to reach a small pond deep in the forest where a young man was waiting for her. Admiration and love appeared in Nira's eyes when she saw the man.
Brother Dimitri.
Nira's eyes almost teared up as she thrust herself into the young man's arms.
There, I am here now.
The young man gently caressed Neera's head. The pressure Neera's felt the past few weeks were crushing for someone so young, and it was only now that she could finally relax a little. Yet, her sadness did not last long, as poisonous hatred appeared in her eyes.
Brother, let's go. I know where he will be in the next couple of days. I want to pay him back all the suffering he caused me.
When the young man heard that, he frowned.
Little sister, even if he is a commoner, his current status is that of a collapsing Lightning Military Academy cadet. We would be in serious trouble if we killed him and someone found out you were responsible.
The young man did not see a problem with ending a life, but did not want to leave any evidence behind.
Don't worry, brother. I used a broker to obtain information about his mission and made sure to hide my tracks even then. I also solicited a mission far from his location, and the military truck would drive there before returning on its own, giving me a good enough alibi. Besides, that man also enraged many other Scions, like Zamir Jarkan, whom I heard is currently going on a mission near him.
When the young man heard that analysis, his eyes widened. They have been together all their lives, but he found it hard to reconcile the cold and calculative woman in front of him with his short-tempered and wild little sister.
You have changed.
Dmitri spoke so low that Neera did not quite hear those words.
Nothing, let's go. We will need to go on foot to hide any trace of our presence.
Neera nodded to Dmitri, and the Jew ran to Kane's location. Kane had no idea of the threat approaching, and his mind focused solely on the mission. After almost 5 hours of travel, he finally reached the Wispa Forest. In it, there was a Tier 0 danger zone with many wave beasts between levels 1 and 3. His mission consisted in gathering blood rose and dock lilies found across the Wispa Forest. Both of them were useful in the creation of all sorts of drugs. Kane got down from the military truck and got deep into the forest. He had commanded the Absolute Life Form system to use the basic scan force field to pick up any trace of the herbs. Meanwhile, he used his sense of smell to track down wave beasts. After almost 3 hours of running, he finally prepared for a battle. On the way here, he picked up many herbs and found some wave beasts, but they were all at level 1, so he chose to avoid them. Less than 100 meters from Kane, there was a pack composed of 4 level 2 earth lions. Kane took out a warrior pill and put it inside his mouth, between his checks. He could consume it in case anything unexpected happened. Slowly, he approached the pack. Once he was near enough, he activated his wave cloak and triggered wave burst. The earth lions rose from the ground as they felt the burst of wave near them. Before they could get battle ready, Kane was already next to one of them and landed a punch in its neck. Kane's right gauntlet glowed as it fired a kinetic blast, destroying the earth lion's neck and killing the creature instantly.
Roar.
The 3 earth lions roared as they saw their comrade die and lunged toward Kane, full of killing intent. Kane's eyes narrowed as he saw the massive wave beasts charging toward him. Instead of moving back, he used his light boots burst to flash forward, bypassing the earth lions on his left and right and crashing with the one at the center. The earth lion weighed easily over 2 tons, but the moment it and Kane clashed, the winner was the human. Kane's momentum was higher than that of the earth lion, and he used wave focus to direct as much of his astral wave as possible into his arms. So when the punch and claw collided, he came up victorious. The earth lion screamed in pain as the punch pushed it back with a broken paw. Kane did not let go of the earth lion and jumped forward, sending a kick to its head. The beast trembled due to brain trauma and lost consciousness. Kane only needed one more attack to kill the earth lion, but instead jumped past it, avoiding the 2 claw strikes coming at his back. Immediately, Kane turned around and concentrated astral wave in his right leg, kicking the unconscious earth lion toward one of the 2 still awake. With one of the earth lion temporarily incapacitated, Kane focused his full power on the other. Kane saw a claw heading to his head but did not dodge. He used his left arm to block it and the right to land an uppercut on the earth lion. The earth lion froze as its brain shook inside its skull and could not avoid a ferocious blow to its throat. It could not move nor breathe, and the next punch to its head ended its life. Kane had just landed a blow to the earth lion's temple when he turned to the right and saw the lost one lunging toward him. He could not dodge it and was only able to raise his arms before the beast clashed with him. the Earth Lion pinned Cain down and attempted to bite his head off. He held onto the beast's maws with one arm before connecting a kinetic blast point-blank on its neck.
Crack.
It was so close that Cain could hear how the Earth Lion's neck shattered. After that, the Earth Lion's eyes lost their light and perished. Cain got the creature out of him before immediately dashing to the unconscious Earth Lion and killing it. He then used his hands to open the wave beast's chests and took out their hearts before storing them in his military backpack. Not wanting to find out whether his battle drew any attention, Cain ran away. Cain kept picking up herbs and getting deeper into the Whisper Forest, finding more powerful wave beasts. After 2 days in the forest, he reached a shallow river and did not advance any further. That was the dividing line that marked the end of the Tier 0 danger zone and the beginning of a Tier 1 danger zone. Before coming, Cain had investigated the Whisper Forest and knew he could find level 4 wave beasts beyond that point. It was already night, so he rose to a tree and began to rest before going to sleep when a message startled him. Warning, 2 individuals entered the basic scan force field range. One of them is Nira Kyla. Thank you for listening to the Age of Chaos audio story. Storyfy grows with listeners like you. Support the series by sharing it and join our Telegram for the latest updates. Episode number 60. 60, Forging His Legend. Warning, 2 individuals entered the basic scan force field range. One of them is Nira Kyla. Cain's eyes widened, and his heart began beating faster as his body prepared to face the incoming threat. Unknown target is a level 4 Essence Wave warrior. That following message from the Absolute Life Form system made Cain's instincts scream danger. He almost ran away with all his strength.
Calm down.
Luckily for Cain, Apex's voice echoed in his mind, allowing him to focus and not act purely by instinct.
Think, Brat. Those 2 just enter the basic scan force field's range, implying they are exactly 50 meters away from you. They have not yet attacked, so they are reducing the distance to ensure they can kill you in a single blow. You can use that to your advantage. You will not win this relying on your strength, so the only path ahead is using your mind. Unlike your encounter with the Atrox, you are their sole target, so they will not get distracted. An open fight will mean your death, but your nullity armor could endure 1 full power attack from that level 4 Essence Wave warrior if you take him by surprise.
Apex paused at this point before carrying on with a solemn tone.
Cain, no one will come to help you, and you can only depend on yourself to survive this. If you fail, you will be like countless others who fade away, inconsequential. However, if you succeed, this experience will be engraved in your body and soul, and you will take your first step to forge your legend. I have already helped you more than I should. From now on, I will remain silent. Good luck, Brat.
Cain could not help but be surprised to hear that Apex would not offer guidance now that he needed it the most, but he soon understood why. He was the Absolute Life Form system's vessel. It was not the host or heir but a mere vessel, and if he perished, the system would jump to a new one. After all, there was no way he was the only reincarnator in the entire universe. The fact that Apex guided him out of his state of panic was already a lot. Cain knew that he failed to keep control, and if not for that voice commanding him to calm down, he would have run, and the level 4 Wave Warrior would have killed him. Cain took a deep breath and calmed his raging heart as he analyzed all the information at his disposal. The fact they are so careful meant they could not handle the repercussion of anyone finding they killed me. I can sense neither of their presences, so the level 4 Wave Warrior must be using a shadow ability similar to that of Nira, but at a higher level. Cain's eyes narrowed as he thought of that lost point and communicated with the Absolute Life Form system. Absolute Life Form system. Can you mark the exact location of the duo? Apex, the system spirit, might not help him during this ordeal, but Cain could still use the full power of the Absolute Life Form system. System can show targets' exact locations to vessel as long they are within the basic scan force field range. Do you wish for the system to do it? Yes. Adding sensory input to vessel. Less than a second after hearing those words, 2 figures appeared at the periphery of Cain's vision. The duo was slowly making their way toward the tree where he rested. Cain did not make the mistake of looking directly at the duo. System, is there a jamming signal in the area? No jamming signal has been detected. Upon closer examination, a form of interference is present. All in and out electric communication must pass through it. Basic hacking can easily overcome it, but those that put the interference in place will find out. Vessel wishes to break through it. No, Kane immediately refused that idea. If he broke through the interference, there was a good chance the duo would attack right away. Not to mention that up to this moment, he had no evidence of the duo doing anything wrong, despite their intentions being as clear as water. Besides, how would he explain the presence of the basic scan force field? The level 4 essence wave warrior alone should be enough to kill me, so Nira must have come to see me die. After analyzing everything and going through what he learned from the Whisper Forest, a plan finally formed in Kane's mind. Kane adopted a sitting position on the tree's branch before summoning his wave cloak. The cloak of astral wave made the duo suspicious, but when they saw how Kane did not activate wave burst, Dimitri and Nira relaxed. If Kane had discovered their presence, he would have unleashed his astral wave's full power and run as fast as possible. None of them could fathom that a level 2 wave warrior would be so calm after knowing that a level 4 was less than 50 meters away from him and ready to kill. Kane then used wave focus to direct most of his astral wave into his legs, leaving his chest full of openings before jumping forward. Dimitri and Nira saw how Kane jumped over the shallow river and onto another tree. Once again, some suspicion appeared in the duo's eyes as they saw the youth marching into the Tier 1 danger zone. However, in the end, Dimitri and Nira conclude that Kane was simply training his wave. Although they were angry about losing their chance, there was nothing they could do other than follow him. Kane continued advancing deeper into the Whisper Forest, seemingly training wave focus, jumping from one tree after another. Dimitri and Nira were growing impatient, not to mention that even for the young man, a Tier 1 danger zone was not somewhere he could just play around. It came to the point that Dimitri hastened his speed, diminishing the distance between him and Kane. Right then, Kane straightened his back and looked toward the duo. He did not look directly at them, but instead at their general vicinity. Anyone seeing that would think that Kane detected someone, but could not pin down their exact location. Damn it, Dimitri cursed in his mind. Once he saw Kane's wave cloak bursting at full power, he gathered his essence wave in his legs to chase after this one. Dimitri was sure he would catch Kane fast and land a deadly blow, but to his utter shock, this one did not run away, but turned around and jumped toward his location. Although Dimitri was surprised by Kane's unexpected behavior, there was no fear in his gaze. He was a level 4 essence wave warrior and was sure he could handle a level 2 astral wave warrior in a melee battle. Since Dimitri had mobilized most of his essence wave into his legs, it took him a little longer to prepare his attack, which he would fire from a small dagger in his hand. Still, he would have more than enough time to land the attack, but then it happened. While still midair, Kane pointed his palm forward and unleashed a blinding light from bursting lightning arcs. Dimitri closed his eyes for a moment, but still managed to fire his attack in Kane's direction, unleashing a barrage of shadow blades. The level 4 essence wave warrior was sure part of his attack landed, but still prepared to receive Kane's charge.
Order.
Nevertheless, what Dimitri received was not a physical blow but a cry of help, and once he looked back, he saw Kane holding the back of Nira's neck. There was a deep cut on Kane's left leg, ribs, and shoulder, but his eyes were full of killing intent as he clenched his hand around Nira's neck.
You dare.
Dimitri roared in rage, but what answered was Kane using his free hand to grab Nira's right arm and pulling with so much strength that he tore it out.
Order.
Nira's scream of extreme agony and Kane's savagery froze Dimitri.
Take one step closer, and I shatter her spine.
Thank you for listening to the Age of Chaos audio story. Storyfy grows with listeners like you. Support the series by sharing it and join our Telegram for the latest updates.